Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Wealth Building for Dummies podcast. My name is Kyle Demian, and I'm joined here with Renji Matthew. And today's topic that we're going to talk about is your financial advisor keeping you broke? We're going to talk about there's really like 2 to 3 different types of financial advisors. We're going to talk about some different pros and cons. And also, if you're watching this episode, if you're watching this show, you're probably of the mindset of Renji and I, where we want to help you build wealth. And the way to building wealth is not going to come from the advice of a traditional financial advisor because they're not incentivized to do so. And we'll talk about that here in a second. But Renji, why don't you go ahead and get us started, and let's start talking about the first type of financial advisor, and like some of their pros and cons, and we'll kind of go back and forth together.
Yeah, one of the most common one is financial advisors that get paid by assets under management. What that mean is, or they go by AUM, which just means, let's say you have $100,000 that they're managing for you. No matter what the market does, if it goes up or down, they're making whatever their fees are with them and their broker. It's between 1 and 3% most of the time. It's typically closer to the 1 or 2%, but they're making that money off of your account every year if the market goes up or down. That's how they usually make money. And then there's other financial advisors also, or the other type of way is they make money up front, a commission up front, and that's it. So we'll talk about pros and cons of each. Kyle, what do you want to? Do you want to start with the pros on each, or talk about the
Yeah, we'll
cons?
start with the pros with each, and why don't you start us off with like the pros of working with somebody that has your assets under management.
Okay, so with the pros for assets under management, all your accounts will be in the stock market most of the time. Stock market, bonds, different things like that. They'll spread it out, and what that does for you is you can capture all the growth in the market. The stock market can do 30-40% sometimes, and you can get all of those growth. So that's a really beneficial part for you because you can have a lot of growth. Um, what about you? What you want to add anything to that, Kyle?
No, as far as that, yeah, you're having somebody help you decide what to invest in, and they kind of
Hmm.
take some of the legwork that maybe otherwise you would have had to do yourself if you don't have time to learn about the stock market, learn why the stock market goes up, learn why it goes down. You have a professional that can help you, manage your money, right? Some of the downsides and the cons of using somebody that has your monies and assets under management is that because they get paid when your money is in the market, they'll never really ever encourage you to invest in assets. They're incentivized to keep your money inside of those accounts. And typically they're earning, 1 to 2% a year from your growth. And so they want that 1 to 2% fee that they collect every single year for the rest of your life. So you taking any of your money out there to ever go put it into real estate or buying other cash flowing assets like we talk about so often on their show just isn't in their agenda. Number one, they might not have any expertise on it themselves. They may have never done it themselves, but they're just giving you their approach with what their firm does, which is putting your money into the markets. So like I said, if you're watching this show, you're probably trying to find out of ways to build wealth, whether it's doing it more tax efficiently or doing it quicker than the 40-year path, which is probably another con with working with a financial advisor that has your assets under management. You're entering into the 40-year path of growing and building your savings and investments, right? You're not going to be able to retire until you're at least 59 and a half, probably into your mid to late 60s. And we've talked about, the uncertainty of Social Security and Medicare and how they're already trying to push the retirement age back. So going this path and using this type of financial advisor may have you, working until your 70s until you can finally retire. Right. And most importantly, like I said, what we talk about is getting into assets. These type of financial advisors typically won't ever encourage you or give you the insight to go and acquire rentals, properties, or anything else. Right. Renji, anything else you want to wrap us up with for, this type of financial advisor before we get into the next type?
No, I think the only thing I would add is, like you said, yeah, they're not. they're not incentivized to help you the assets route. Which the funny thing is, a lot of them that I know, they do assets under management, take that income and go put it into assets themselves, right?
Yeah.
Um, so they might be incentivized to teach you about it if they charge you other fees and stuff like that. But otherwise, most of the time, when they if they recommend you to take out that money from assets under management, it's taken away from their income. So that's a big con. So yeah, do you want to start with the pros for the commissions up front type?
Yeah. Other advisors are given their commissions up front, right? And when this is the path, the one of the pros or benefits for you as a consumer is that you may not have any other commission to be paid to the advisor afterwards, right? And another benefit may actually be that you may not even have to pay your commission to the advisor. They could be paid based on the companies that they work with. It could be a little bit different, right? But those are some of the benefits where you're keeping probably more of your money in the long term, and you may pay the advisor up front an extra amount than you would pay the advisor otherwise. But this is just another way for you to get advice for what you should do in the financial world. And this could actually potentially lead to less commissions over time that come out of your pocket. What about the cons for these type of advisors, Renji?
Well, one of the most common one with these type of advisors is you might never hear from them again. If
Yeah.
you try to reach out to them, if you have questions later down the line, you might not ever hear from them again. So that's a huge con, right? Especially for people. I know I've talked to older folks that like to keep in touch with their advisor every year if they can, and more often if other stuff come up. But if you can never get a hold of them, what kind of advisor are they, right? So that's one of the biggest cons with that. Anything you want to add to that, Kyle?
No, I think that's pretty spot on. Eh, like the previous example, how the financial advisor is incentivized to keep your money in the market. These advisors aren't really incentivized at all for the follow up and to keep touching base with you. Although some will continue to keep touching base with you because of why, maybe the potential in the future to earn referrals from you or to earn your business on another piece of money, which is all okay, right? We're just educating you guys on what's out there and what's available. And then, the last thing that we can kind of talk about and round up the show with today is like what we do. People might be thinking, well, where do you guys fall into play? And Renji, what would you say about that if somebody were to ask you, what type of financial professional are you and how can you help me?
Yeah, so we do a little bit of the second one, and when I say a little bit of, we don't. You'll talk to us like I actually personally give my phone numbers to my clients. That way they can reach out to me anytime. So you're not gonna like I'm not gonna disappear from you after. But the reason I like to do it the second route is it's yes, I don't make as much money. So that's also there's two different type of people in even in that route. So there's people that if your accounts are set up where it benefits their pockets more, their commissions are higher up front, even if they don't make money afterwards. But the way me and Kyle like to do it, we like to set up what's best for the client. Like we said before, it's not one size fits all. Everyone has different goals, and we try to set up accounts depending on what their goals are. And so a lot of times, majority of the times, that means our commission is going to be really low. But what we do is we try to build relationships. So our whole goal is to have a relationship with that client, and what does that do in turn for us? We'll get more referrals. To be honest with you, my first year I did this full time, I didn't make much money at all because we wanted to do what was right. But when doing what's right, you don't always make a lot of money up front. But what happened was the second year on, I got a lot more referrals because the clients realized, oh, I can get in touch with this guy, and this guy's actually got my best interest in his heart. And something me and Kyle talk about is buying passive income assets. Because if you like the traditional route, no worries. We could show you options that are out there that are best for you. And all the options that me and Kyle recommend, your money's protected from the market. So you don't ever lose money. At the same time, you get to grow with the market without losing money. So if you like the regular traditional route of working till 60, 65 or whatever retirement age you want to work till, these will still work better for you because you never lose money in the market. But if you wanted to go the route of buying passive income, we can also, because we do that, we could show you how to do that, and or even just talk about it. Because we've talked to so many people, like Kyle mentioned before, that try to get into different types of passive income assets, and we could talk about that, and we could talk about tax savings, different things like that. And it doesn't benefit us anything in the long run. We just like providing value and teaching, and that's how it's all about building that relationship with our clients. Because when they have a family member or a friend that needs help with retirement, who are they going to go to? Us, because we provided all that value and we didn't charge them, or we didn't, they didn't see a lot of money going to us in commissions. Anything you want to add to that, Kyle?
I think you did a great job of summing it up. And the only thing I guess I would add is that, yeah, we're kind of the untraditional path where, we're educating people on ways to get financially free in 10 years or less, and that is not through investing in the stock market. It's not through investing into cryptocurrency or Bitcoin. Like, no, we talk about getting into cash flowing assets, right? And when your passive cash flow is greater than your monthly expenses, then you're financially free. The problem with traditional financial planning is that your passive cash flow to be greater than your expenses usually takes 40 years, right? If you have $1 million saved up inside of your 401k, that's only going to give you $40,000 a year. So if your expenses are $40,000 a year, you need to save up $1 million. And for most people, that takes 30 to 40 years to do. Instead, what can be simpler is to get 8 to 10 assets or passive cash flowing assets that each bring in $500 a month. What's $500 a month times 8 assets? That's $4,000 a month, or $48,000 a year technically, right? And when your $48,000 a year of passive cash flow is greater than your $40,000 of expenses, that is when you're truly financially free. And that's what we talk about, and that's what we educate people on is, not going down and thinking about the traditional path, but understanding that these other ways exist. And when you go these other paths and become an entrepreneur, start getting into assets like real estate, the tax law is also written for you. So you're going to save so much in taxes. You're going to get financially free sooner. And then also you're going to build wealth a lot quicker, because the greatest returns in investing in general typically come from assets that also appreciate over time. What does that mean is, the cost of bread, 10 years ago probably was a dollar a loaf. Now it's like 2.50, right? Same thing with eggs and maybe milk. Everything is going up in price over time, right? So does assets like homes, car washes, vending machines, ice machines. Like, there's so many different ways for you to buy into assets that are not only going to give you cash flow today, but are also going to appreciate in value tomorrow and as the years go on. So that is the ways that you can quickly accelerate your wealth. And the problem is most financial advisors aren't talking about these strategies because they're incentivized to keep your money in the market, right? That's why we created this podcast, to educate you guys on how money works, to teach you some of the tax-free wealth building strategies that the wealthy have used for decades and hundreds of years, and just to really enlighten you guys that, you don't have to be some super smart person to be able to do it. You could be a dummy like Renji and I, right? For all we know. So
Yeah.
it's not overcomplicated. You just have to know the knowledge, and you just have to know that it's possible. Right. And with that, Renji, is there anything else that you want to add before we kind of close out our show for today? But otherwise, I think we can keep this one pretty short and sweet.
Yeah, something that a mentor of mine says: the knowledge is there, the edge, and the action is all that's needed. The knowledge is out there. You can easily find the knowledge, and you can always go and do more research on everything we talk about. But at the end of the day, the biggest thing is taking action. If you don't take action, if I think we've talked about this on a previous episode. I was one of those people. I did all the research in the world. I knew everything I needed to know about whatever I wanted to get into, but I never took action. We weren't successful. Well, there's going to be success and failures when you take action, but if you let those failures be failures without learning anything from it, it's definitely a failure. If you learn from it, don't take it as a failure. It's just another step to go forward. But take action at the end of the day. That's what really matters to get to your goals.
I
that's
love
it.
it.
I'm going to end it there.
I love it. Awesome. Yeah, thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of the Wealth Building for Dummies podcast. As always, I'm Kyle Demian. This was Renji Matthew. You guys can follow us and get more of our content on social media, which we'll have linked below down here. And make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know, if you guys have any particular questions around money, wealth building, financial advisors, taxes. We'll do our best to give you guys the answers, or maybe even to bring in an expert on that topic to be able to talk specifically on that. And if you're watching this and you are an expert in some, one of these avenues, and you would want to be a guest, feel free to reach out. We're open to bringing people on to talking about what they do and what knowledge that they have to share. And we'll see you guys on the next episode. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Take care.